down the road.
Oh man, I knew it was time to start this episode. Stop me if you guys have heard this before, but I just knew it was time because a halo just came over my head and a chime played and there's spotlights in the studio. We're covering the second one of our Touched by an Angel episodes, and I am here to tell you, listener, we are the BoobTube Boys and we are all angels. Van, you're an angel.
Yep.
Brian, you're the angel of death.
Well, I'm actually a website now.
Oh, see, I thought I saw you on Netscape.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, that's an interesting choice.
I've become a website.
So, David Boreanaz, anyone?
You know, he's a star of Angel.
Is he an angel in that?
No, it turns out he's a vampire, actually.
That doesn't make any sense. What kind of vampire?
I'm going to do the audience a courtesy. We had a false start. We started recording, but we weren't actually recording. So everything being said now is a reference to that, not all of us being kicked in the head by a horse at the same time.
Yeah, it happened again. Doesn't happen often. Yeah, no, Angel, David Boreanaz. He's a vampire who suppressed the lust for blood. And
like
therefore,
the Twilight vampires.
Like the Twilight vampires. So therefore, he helps humans. And he has a couple of guys. One of them is Scottish, I think, or maybe Irish, much like the lead of this show.
I do wish we were covering that show. It does sound awesome, and I do like David Boreanaz. It is okay, though, because we are doing our second Touched by an Angel, and it is worth saying again, even though we got cut off trying to record this last time, this episode really is going to be upper echelon BoobTube Boys material, right, guys?
This is one of the handful of episodes that I would suggest anyone who wants to just go watch. It is totally nuts, and to the point where it's hard to even narrow down what to mention.
And I can't remember if I had watched this prior to assigning this episode to you, Spencer. I may have.
That would be my first question is what drove you to pick this one?
Well, a big one is I know you typically do adore the era-specific accoutrements in the shows we cover. And the Brady Bunch, it's hilarious looking at all the hideous 70s stuff. This is the most 1998 to 2001 thing that has ever existed. It's particularly in the world of tech, and it's hilarious.
Especially to see from what they perceive to be the Christian viewpoint on this time period with the computer information age in full swing. And they just survived the scare of Y2K at this point, and that was nearly the end of us all. But now we've got this scary new world with fancy new gadgets and computers that can give you any piece of information you could ever dream. And a lot of people, not us, but a lot of people were scared at this time period about all the possible evil that could come from that. We get to see a little bit of that in this episode. This one, it's season 6, episode 26, and aired May 21st of 2000. So this is just dawn of the new millennium, all that time period. Computers are still very ugly and gigantic. And
right after my sister's birthday.
Yeah, right. Pretty much right after that. This one's called Pandora's Box because once you open that shit, there's no going back. And computers
You'll lie awake at night.
Computers are the Pandora's box for fear-mongering Christian types and anyone who's afraid of information. It's not just Christians who might have thought like, wow, this thing that computers can make us do or give us access to, I'm not sure we were meant for that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we should live that way.
It's a real with great power comes great responsibility type deal. And I will add, and Spencer just said it, this is not a niche show. This is a very popular show on one of America's 3 major networks. So while it is faith-based, this is going to seem wild hearing it now, but this wasn't exactly like an opinion in the corner.
Yeah, it had to have been a relatively mainstream thought process. The fears that the characters in this episode have, I'm going to give you the brief synopsis of it, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the people who are in this you might have seen in other things, which isn't so much the case last week. As much, we have some big advocates for David Leisure and for Corbin Burnson here. And who was the one you were all into that you defended last time as a huge A-lister? The Celeste, what was her?
Oh, she wasn't an A-lister. She was on Xena
I'm
Warrior
exaggerating,
Princess.
but it's
Hudson Leak. I don't know how to pronounce it. L-E-I-C-K.
So anyway, we have a different couple of people we should throw out here, and I'd argue they top that one, but you guys might not think so.
Maybe not in terms of performance. David Leisure, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
what work
Can't do
put
better.
in.
Pandora's Box is with a new computer in the house. A young daughter accidentally clicks a link to a porn site. Does she ever? When the father takes control to change the site, he becomes interested in online porn, and it starts to affect his home and work life.
Does it ever?
There's a C plot here they didn't put in, which is online predator strikes at young daughter at the end of the episode.
Oh, that's C plot. I thought C plot might have been the weird bunny birth thing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's all sorts of shit happening
that's the
here.
D plot.
The big crux of it all is the porn discovery. So yeah, that's Gary Cole. Gary Cole is the father in this. Brian pointed this out while we were getting ready to record this, is that this is what, like a year after
1 year after
Office
Space.
Mm-hmm. And he's doing this, which prompted me to say they just had to have paid him a ton because he knows what he's doing. And he knows this isn't.
Yeah, he's a competent actor.
He knows this isn't something that he should do.
He plays this pretty straight, though.
Mhm.
Like, he doesn't try to ham it up, except for there's one thing he does later that is pretty great. But for the most part, he is not doing what Corbin Burnson did. He's low-key with it.
I feel like I don't know that Gary Cole would be good at that if he tried to do an exaggerated version of himself for something he thought was beneath him. Like if he thought this is stupid, but I'm going to have fun with it. I don't know that he would be able to do that. He's just going to put in his normal Gary Cole performance no matter what it is.
Well, I mean, he was a big outlandish character in Office Space.
That was good, though.
Yeah. But that kind of
It's
thing.
to your point, Spencer, though. He probably believed in that. So he's like, I
True.
can go big. I can put on this persona. We also do know from experience Gary Cole has acted in faith-based movies.
Yes, so I wonder,
That's true.
does he have a faith background? I don't think so.
I don't know that he does.
But I don't know.
He might just be a mercenary. Give him enough money.
He also could be, the type of, and there are a lot of these guys, actors who are like, if you'll pay me and it isn't, like, I'm not certain that he would be in a God's Not Dead type Christian movie,
Sure.
but, if you, just with positive messaging about being nice to people, he probably doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm bringing this up now because I had 4 other episodes I should have done this, but he was the voice of Harvey Birdman in Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. And he's hilarious. That show's genuinely funny. Johnny Radical, a friend of the show, pointed it out on our Discord, which you can join. Go to bootoinc.com. But it's a funny show. It's raunchy, and he is utterly perfect in it as a comical goofball. So I do think he has quite a bit of range. I like him a lot, though.
I have nothing but respect for Gary Cole. We don't get to see any of what he would do in this episode. And he doesn't try. He doesn't try to make it interesting. He doesn't risk that. There's also Evan Rachel Wood, who I didn't realize was the little girl in this until I was looking at the credits afterwards. She plays Sarah, the daughter who accidentally gets them into this whole evil porn mess that they wind up in.
I think Satan got them into that mess.
They won't even really commit to that.
They do say it later.
Some people call it evil.
Kind
some
of.
people call it Satan.
Yeah.
They won't
They're just
really,
like anything bad is Satan.
I think maybe they're afraid because some people are like, I don't really think the devil's real. And maybe they didn't want to offend some of their audience.
Because it is on CBS in primetime, there is a degree of that, of kind of compromise, because they also won't totally demonize the internet or new technology. They're willing to say, this tech is here, so let's see what it's used for, in good and bad.
Which is, I think, a sensible way to say, if you're going to say I have questions about it, at least point out, but it does seem like it's got some uses and it is not going anywhere.
This comes on the heels, though, I'll say, at the end of this episode, after 40 minutes of seeing it only do bad stuff. So, the show doesn't necessarily deliver what it's preaching.
No, it's erratic.
And erotic.
This had a hell of a serve. This particular episode, it doesn't quite spew it at the end as much, like where you're hit with a bunch of new revelations as the show ends, but it does have about 10 different directions it's pulling you. And it's kind of hard for us to even cover all the thoughts it's going to unearth with us as we go, because the characters are, their responses to things are kind of interesting every step of the way.
No one acts like a person.
Not really.
And it's great. It's magical because, not magical like our last episode, but you don't know from moment to moment what a character might say or do because they're not experiencing the internet or pornography in ways that anyone ever has.
Well, because they're not really experiencing the internet or pornography.
No.
It's just a weird, vague composition of the two things.
Really, this feels like an episode written by people who are like, let's take a few things we know 0 things about and then try to write about them.
Without looking anything
Without
up.
even researching.
What do you guys know Evan Rachel Wood from mostly, by the way? I was going to ask.
That's a good question.
She's in, what's that science fiction show that got really bad really quickly?
Westworld?
Yes.
Westworld.
She's in that, right?
She's in that?
She's in Down in the Valley with Edward Norton.
Yeah, I think
haven't seen that.
I liked her in that a lot. I always liked her. She had the stuff with Marilyn Manson where there were a horrible relationship with, because he's a terrible human being.
Not good.
Yeah.
So I always feel bad for her because she has had a tough life.
Did you recognize her?
No, but once you find out, you look at her and you go, oh, of course.
Yeah, I had no idea the whole time.
Yeah, I watched the episode through the first time not knowing, but then I had the IMDb page pulled up and was looking for her the second time and knew she pretty much had to be the daughter, the older daughter in the episode.
Yeah, because Millie is
Too young.
Not anyone. I looked at her IMDb and she doesn't have the mom who is
She's had some stuff.
Kate. She's Kate in the episode, and Millie, the younger daughter. Yeah, they've done stuff, but not to the degree that Gary Cole and Evan Rachel would have done.
And Kate wins the award for acting most like she just stumbled out of M. Night Shyamalan's The Village and found a computer.
Hard to like Kate. I have a lot of trouble with her.
Gonna say it, I hate Kate. I'm a Kate hater.
That seems like a sign you could put up. Hate Kate.
Not a good character. So thinly drawn. They don't even try to make her likable.
No, that's true. It's not Kate's fault that
No.
she's horrible. She just is. So we open this episode with an exterior shot. I always love those. The Waltons loves doing that. I got to bring in the Waltons up as much as I can.
Night, John boy.
They're trying to show right out of the gate how perfect this family's life is from the very beginning. You see the exterior shot of this beautiful house. It's domestic suburban bliss.
Idyllic.
I will point out, we get the dove at the beginning there. We get the bird flying by, which
Crapping
is
on the car.
You know, their subtle symbol that everything's so subtle about this show. Their subtle symbol about some sort of angelic sign or whatever the dove is supposed to represent in this.
And so because we're starting off in the suburbs and we see an alive bird, we know this is a Christian TV show. The bird was dead, David Lynch movie.
Oh. I would love to see the episode of Touched by an Angel,
David Lynch's
directed
Touched
by
by an
David
Angel.
Lynch.
Please.
Wow.
If we just do the original pilot that the original creator did, maybe
him
we
do
could
that.
make that work.
You know what's wild about that is I feel like the characters would be more normal.
David, you're making these guys way too normal. Well, here we have a wonderful bowl of perfectly cooked quinoa. David, what the fuck are you doing? And then he did a thing where he would do the weather report every fucking day. He would record himself talking about the weather. David Lynch is weird, man. I love the guy.
I think that's one of the things that is definitely true about him, undisputedly.
Weird. So this is a perfect neighborhood. That dove is flying around, a dog's barking. Inside this beautiful house, a little girl's practicing her ballet dancing. And of course, the coup de grace here, a mother and daughter huddle at a hideous boxing monitor together, exploring the miracle of the brand new World Wide Web.
Just a huge monitor.
The mom, who we later learn is Kate, who we decided we hate, is having trouble getting the website she wants. Of course, because she doesn't know anything about computers. Later on, Sarah, the daughter who we're about to meet, has a little joke. Kate thinks a Pentium processor is like a salad chopper. I butchered the joke, but it's something like that.
That's a joke that came in pre-butchered.
In any case, Kate doesn't know shit about computers. And she's getting this dreaded 404 error. You guys know the one. She's like, this website doesn't work. And Sarah says, okay, boomer, here's how you get to a website. You typed in the wrong URL. I couldn't even get that out because they spend about 10 minutes on the URL jokes, which Sarah wants to be all academic with them. And like, it means uniform resource locator. I wrote here, knowing what URL actually means sure turned out to matter a bunch in knowing how to use the internet.
Also, like, mom, silly, the incorrect URL. Say you typed the word in wrong, type it again. And that'll help the person understand who doesn't know what it is. But Gary Cole, of course, steals the show.
He's got a little joke here. What does Gary Cole say URL stands for?
You are lost.
Now, I think there's a missed opportunity of putting an L on his forehead and said, you're a loser.
Boom.
Because she didn't know what she was doing. But I guess that would put more marital stress on a marriage that's about to endure a lot.
Yeah, that is on threads.
As of now, it's perfect. It will be completely shattered in like 2 weeks.
And not for reasons you'd think, but we'll get to that.
So Kate is not amused by her husband. It's Charlie. Charlie is played by Gary Cole. Anyway, Kate's not amused. She loves him, but she's not amused. And she corrects the URL, and they end up at the site that Kate was attempting to find all along.
Do you know what the actual correct URL is? This is fucking hilarious. It is www.zwake, Z-W-A-K, whatever that is, .com/antiques.com.
Oh, man. They got the original antiques.com.
Well, zwake.com/antiques.com.
Oh.
It's a double.com, man.
I didn't look at the URL as she wrote it in. So what was the typo? Did you see that?
No, they didn't show it. But by the way, www.zwake.com/antiques.com is available on GoDaddy right now for $2,000 if anyone's interested.
What a deal.
Now that they're on this website that Vance told us the URL of, Kate doesn't really want it anymore. Immediately decides, I don't like looking at antiques online. I'm just going to go the old-fashioned way.
This is Kate the whole time. One look at the page, it says, I'm repulsed. No, I could never buy anything online.
Yeah, she's completely done with that shit, gives up on it immediately. The youngest, Millie, takes this opportunity, is like, oh, my mom left the computer. I guess it's my turn. I need to check and see what's going on with Marshmallow, the glass bunny. he's fat and he needs to go on a diet.
Mm-hmm.
How fat is this fucking bunny?
Fat.
I don't think bunnies can get
He's
fat,
so
really.
fat that it seems like he might have other bunnies inside of him, as it turns out. So Sarah's like, no, it's really my turn, but we can look up nutrition information for Marshmallow real quickly for 1 minute before I do my homework.
That's bunnyfacts.com/bunnyfacts.com.
Behind them all, as they're clacking away on their keyboards, our favorite 3 angels are lurking, unseen, but in the background watching the family go about their business.
Despite the glow around them.
And I will say, they have some thoughts on what this new era in human history means.
There was a time when families used to gather around the hearth. Now they gather around the hard drive.
I like computers, though. They're a bridge across the entire world. And they seem to bring out the human urge to chat.
That and play solitaire.
But is that really what God created man to do?
So I cut that off, but they don't stop there. In fact, Andrew gets a great line there. So Monica's like, you should get a website, Tess, and real dated reference that Andrew says, keyword grouchy.
Yeah, oh boy. There are several things in this episode that are remnants of the early internet, and whoever was trying to get those things to catch on, they did not. Keywords, one, later on, the term surfing is used casually as if anyone ever said that.
Hey man, I'm just surfing.
Just surfing the net.
Tess goes on to observe that the members of the family are all living in completely separate timelines. Kate, with her interest in antiques and books, she's full-on 19th century woman.
A real Dr. Quinn.
And she'll tell anyone, whether prompted or not, that she does love the past.
Charlie and his big TVs and his microwave ovens, that's been happening for a while. That's 20th century human. Lastly, you've got Sarah and Millie. They're proud citizens of the information age, so they're all about the computers and the future. And to further this point, right during the middle of this, Millie excitedly rushes over to Charlie to tell him what she's just learned from the computer. Marshmallow doesn't need to change his diet.
What's he need?
He needs to have his baby.
Abortion.
Because he is bigger because he's pregnant, not because he's fat. Now, Charlie doesn't really give a shit that his daughter clearly doesn't understand a lot of things about this and just dismisses the entire subject, has no interest in discussing Millie's interest in it.
It's super frustrating this whole fucking time, and Tess is annoying about this too, but they need to just say something to this poor little girl, and no one does. No one is just like, well, here's what happens in a light, casual manner. But no, they just keep ignoring her.
And I'm not sure the little fairy tale they drum up for the bunny birth is necessary for animals. I know parents do that kind of stuff for what humans do to reproduce, but it's just usually not that. You don't usually have the stork sort of background story for a rabbit in their kids. It's just really weird. And Charlie just completely doesn't care when she thinks a male bunny could be pregnant. That should be a thing you would definitely talk about right there.
All of the Millie, Tess, bunny scenes they're bad and boring and they don't add anything. Clearly, this is just filler. I mean, I complained a bit about that last episode with certain scenes, but it's really tacked on.
You know what? I will agree with you. It is filler, but to give it its props, when we watched Friends, they mentioned a cat. We didn't get a cat.
Yeah,
when we watched Growing Pains, they showed us pizza boxes, but we didn't see pizza being eaten by cokeheads. When they have a bunny and Touched by an Angel, I get to see this bunny flipping its dish and climbing on shit and
I'll give you that.
That's great. I love seeing bunnies.
They did not deny us bunnies, and that is cool.
And they did complete the storyline, too. We get to see Marshmallow's babies at the end of it. All the while, Sarah's researching her own little schoolwork, which is not bunny-related, but rather Hawaii-related. And of course, just typing in Hawaii got her right into porn site, which would easily happen to any of us. We've been there.
You said it's a porn site. What is this?
Well, I have a list of everything on here, if you'd like to hear. The link that she clicks on says, Beautiful Hawaii, Mysteries of Hawaii, and the page offers the following things. XXX pics, erotic stories, magazines, chats with girls, videos, spy cams, and live strip shows. And the tagline is, everything you can imagine, and even some you can't. Aloha indeed, except the imagery is just like a sunset and like just a lady.
There's just a
She's
lady
fine.
there, standing there. I was confused about what from this exactly. I mean, I guess if they started reading the links, they would be confused. Be like, oh no, what's this?
Why would a porn site be like, we should make our theme Hawaii? I don't really know what the market they're trying to cover is.
And I'd like to quickly say the internet never, ever worked this way.
Nope.
I mean, I think you guys are a little off. Neither of you clearly have been to Pornhub.com, clicked categories, and went to Hawaii.
Well, you're even suggesting that you started on a porn site.
Fair.
This is like going to Google, typing Hawaii, and getting back a site that isn't anything, but has a couple of links to other stuff.
Another impressive thing, this 2000 website, which is fully functioning, partial, like multimedia video experience for Hawaiian porn.
I forgot that it talks.
Yeah, it's doing all this stuff that would have been really hard for that era of internet to handle.
It should look like the hamster dance at best.
So Charlie overhears this because so much shit is happening on this website, all the bells and whistles, the computer speakers are broadcasting the smut throughout the house, and Charlie has to stop ignoring Millie so he can come over and be like, "What the fuck are you doing, Sarah?" And Sarah's like, "I don't know. I looked up Hawaii and this came up." He's like, "Well, just get away and I'll take care of it."
I've got all daddy will take care of this.
He zeroes right in on it and clicks immediately. That's the first thing he does. He sits down and clicks and sees hot, wet, horny.
The built-in audio, by the way, tells him if he's looking for sexy lingerie, he's come to the right place.
Which that's also not pornography.
That's not porn, no.
The one before says, "Come on in, the water's fine," and then a guitar goes, "Wow."
They put so much work into the sales pitch, like the landing page of this porn site.
But I do appreciate that the show, Touched by an Angel, did make all this shit. Someone sat down and said, well, we got to make this look real.
But all of it comes across like a serial killer collage, like what the websites look and sound like.
So Gary Cole's job as an actor at this point in time is to disapprove but show a little bit of intrigue as well on his face when he's going through this website.
And he does.
Charlie sits down there and it's kind of, he's giving it a dirty look, but also can't look away.
He reaches and hesitates.
Yeah.
He lingers a bit.
He stares longer than he needs to.
As if to say, if I shall meet this foe again in the road, I am not sure that I shall vanquish it.
And the thing is, his solution that he'll take care of it really just entails like powering down the computer straight from that screen.
And maybe just the
monitor.
I think
it's just a big monitor.
I thought that
you think it's
too.
a whole thing?
I think it was all connected.
Like a Mac or whatever?
You know how when you hold down the power button, like on your phone or whatever, it'll force it down. I think that's what he was doing, but that was my first thought. He was like, I don't know, and just turn the monitor off.
So then the volume keeps coming.
Left the porn site on.
Lingerie.
It's getting hot in here.
So the angels have been sitting there this whole time, taking all of this in.
Just staring away. Oh, it's so voyeuristic.
And it seems to prove Tess is correct to have the misgivings.
I can summarize this next part real quick.
Sure.
Tess says the internet is a hammer.
You know what you see when you have a hammer?
What's that?
Just a bunch of nails. So it's a tool.
Was that Carl Jung?
It might have been. It's a tool. But you can't just use it for everything. It's a specific tool, and you have to use it the right way. By the way, speaking of nails, Charlie in particular really seems like he wants to nail something. So Monica looks terrified at the developments here as the intro music plays, and our second weird cold open has now concluded.
10 minutes later.
After this cascade of life-changing events that just took place, we don't want to skip too much time. The very next morning in the Radcliffe household, the family's rushing around, getting ready to go about their busy suburban lives. Charlie pours orange juice and stares at a plate of pancakes, and Kate laments what the computer did to her daughter, shoving pornography in her innocent face like that. She feels violated. As she leaves with a pancake, Sarah's tech-savvy friend Kiki comes in.
Just a dry-ass fucking pancake in the mouth? I guess. All right.
Oh, man. I feel like just a dry pancake, homemade, because they're dry too often. Well, maybe she's really good at it, but I feel like this is just chalk mouth central.
But okay, look, pancakes full of fucking sugar already. Just put the butter and syrup on it. You're already there. You're not doing it healthy. So what's the excuse of just stuff the driest saltine pancake you have in my mouth while I go to my antique store?
This really feels like another one of those, the director's like, do stuff with your hands, and no one does stuff that people would do with their hands.
That's the best part about just matter-of-factly reading this stuff, because none of it's possible, and I just wanted to read it like matter-of-factly. I got that
so
happened.
Great.
But you can tell that they don't have actual direction because Gary Cole is just pouring beverages the entire scene.
The whole time, and there aren't that many people there. This episode's really great.
There was a scene before it where he has a bowl of mystery substance, and he goes, hey, do you want this, to his wife? I'm throwing it out. And he walks over and sets it down on the counter behind him. He moves it 3 feet over, not accomplishing anything.
It was never thrown out.
They just have to be busy with something, and it never makes any sense. So tech-savvy Kiki immediately starts commenting on everything in the household that the Radcliffes have on display. For instance, there's a really cool table that is an antique, and Kate must have gotten that from her work. That Kiki says it look really cool it could be like a computer table if you just drill the hole right in the middle of it.
I believe she says, cool old table, which is not a thing any 11-year-old child has ever said.
The whole thing is, I know what they're trying to do with Kiki. It doesn't work.
You know what? I bet 11-year-old Jesus said that. He was a carpenter. Yeah. He's a cool table. Maybe that influenced
None of what
him.
these kids do has ever, again, was done in the era. Like, these kids' primary, like, personality affect, or Kiki's, is like, I like computers and the idea of the future continuing.
Can you imagine, though, at that age, you're in like 6th grade or whatever, you go to your friend's parents' house and start commenting on their furniture and their decor? Like at that age?
Hi, Kay. Cool old table. That's what I said to Brian's mom.
And it gets better. Kiki's not done shitting all over the Radcliffe family.
So the table's cool, and it would be cool if they did electronics on it, but... So there's the thing, the printer is so 1995.
Yeah, because kids give a shit what your printer is.
It's just a ridiculously old printer.
Who's got dot matrix a year after the Matrix?
She's like, you guys really need to upgrade that, Mr. R. And she leaves with Sarah, puts her arm around her and says, God, your family's so 20th century. Which all the little kids were saying that in 2000.
I was fucking burning people left and right with that about what century I thought they might be from.
This scene actually is a good one for Gary Cole because he does wear a visible, I hate Kiki look on his face. The whole scene where he's like, okay.
And I recognize this because I had a dad once. And I did have some friends, and he hated all of them.
That is one of those friends I can attest to.
Yeah, he hated everybody.
In a delightful turn of events, we now get to see Kate at work, which starts with her vigorously dusting one of her antique tables and only gets better from there. Because in comes Monica, who's now decided that she is going to con her way into Kate's life by pretending to be interested in that one thing that Kate loves over everything else, antiques.
It's kind of fucking sick. You know what these angels do. I know we talked about this last episode, but it is weird.
It's super weird because she brings in, and I wrote down exactly what it is because Kate says it out loud in shock, a cathedral top picture frame fronted telephone.
I knew what it was when I saw it.
Actually, I'll correct you.
Frame something telephone?
She fucks up frontier.
Okay.
She says fronter telephone.
I rewound and I could not tell what she was saying.
Well, the only reason I know is because of the captioning on whatever the website is that has it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Cathedral top picture frame frontier telephone. That whatever that is. Holy shit. Wow.
I don't know, but Monica was
blown away.
She was going to put it on consignment. I don't think that's a good idea. Don't you guys think Kate should just buy it and put it on display?
She couldn't let it go to waste.
Well, that's why she never makes any money. She's not doing a good job at the store because she just would rather give things a home than make a profit.
I bet Anthony's doesn't have a cathedral top picture frame frontier telephone.
I should mention Kate's like 37 or something. She acts as if she's 80 this whole episode. She's very like, I love the 18th century or whatever. And then what she's about to do and continue, like the unspooling of her life story, unrequested.
Yeah, Kate goes on and on about how old-fashioned she is and how many old things she likes.
To a stranger.
Essentially, yeah, her and Monica are connecting here, but she still just met her and is just hitting her with, I like Pride and Prejudice, and I like how people used to be nice, and I hate how things are.
We were famously really nice to people in previous centuries.
Super tolerant and wonderful.
Definitely didn't try to own anyone else.
Monica says, I like old things too. And Kate decides, fuck it, I'm taking this relationship to the next level. You want to come over and have meatloaf with my family tonight?
This is so weird.
That would never happen. You would never meet a person and be like, I want to come eat dinner with my family.
Yeah, we're friends now.
We got a porn computer if you want to look at that too.
All because Monica's like, I like antiques. And Kate's like, I like antiques. Meet my family. I love you.
Probably because she's never seen another human being who gives a shit about antiques.
You have a point there. Kate is the worst and she loves antiques in a way you can't. So if she did meet someone like that, she'd be like, this is my soulmate. This is my person. Okay, we have to do the Millie plot now. So we go to the school. Guess who Millie's teacher is? The angels all have to be in the episode, so it's Tess.
Yep, she got her degree.
Yeah, for like 6 months then did she apply for this job.
This one is a little harder for me to explain away.
Makes no sense.
In the last episode, Andrew had only been the guy's agent for 3 weeks or whatever. Maybe Tess just is a teacher and also an angel. I don't know.
I still think they take over bodies. She saw a teacher and said, "You don't need to live for 6 months. I'm taking this."
The skeleton key a little bit, like
a little bit.
Get in there.
Yeah.
I'm still on they hold professions on a key ring, sort of. Like, at will, they can just do whatever they need to do undercover.
Anyway, Tess is a teacher. We can't really argue that.
And I don't give a shit about what she does in this scene. Just want to look at the bunny. That's all I want to do. None of it matters.
That's what we're
good,
doing.
Nothing of consequence is said.
Well, she gets the children lined up for lunch for whatever that's worth. And Millie takes the time to ask about the marshmallow situation because, of course, that is the whole point of this questionable, flimsy scene. And she isn't getting the whole pregnancy thing no matter what and what that means about marshmallow. So Tess kind of gives her an answer, but not really, and then says, go ask your parents. Go ask your Gary Cole.
You know, it's true to form, though, for religious people who are so afraid of any sort of biological function that Tess is in particular. Oh, you got to talk to your parents. That's a horrible, terrible thing. We can't talk about that. And it's like, just tell her.
It's just bunnies.
It's reproduction. It's not a big
deal.
deal.
Could say something. Like, I understand her not wanting to get into the nitty gritty because the parents probably want to do that in theory, and you don't want to overstep. But how she won't even so much as explain the scientific basics of an animal mating. That sort of hesitance and like taboo nature about sex between animals even is like, that is not going to create a healthy mind.
But it fits for the Christian prerogative toward the puritanical thing.
Yeah.
But really, the way to solve it is she just needs to take her finger in her other hand and
and do the in and out motion.
And the kid goes, okay, I got it.
Just like the journalist in our last episode. That's really the only thing you ever need to talk about with sex is just that.
Every single episode of Touch My Angel has the finger in the hand thing.
We're going piece by piece through the Radcliffe family, and Sarah's next. So she and Kiki are at a totally still thriving and relevant cyber cafe today. I guarantee you it made it through the years, which Kiki says is where all the cool people come to be on the internet together.
Sure, Kiki, sure.
I'm beginning to question Kiki a little bit here. There's really no segue for it, but Sarah just being at the cyber cafe around computers decides it's now I need to tell Kiki about what I found last night, which is a Hawaii porn site when I was trying to do my schoolwork. And it was really weird and gross, and it made me feel weird, she tells Kiki. So the owner of the cafe overhears this part and decides to interrupt because he's concerned for these children. Who's the owner of the cyber cafe, you say? Well, we know Tess is the teacher. Let's have Andrew be the cyber cafe owner.
Oh, here's another angel. Now, thing is, just briefly, I didn't recognize Andrew at first, and I was
he didn't have the hair anymore.
This guy's a creep, is what I thought, because of the way he was conducting himself in this conversation. Now, knowing it's Andrew, you can realize that the words are meant to be helpful.
He hears the young girls talking about finding something unwelcome on a computer and goes into protection mode. He's like, that wouldn't happen here. My cyber cafe has great filters and you won't see a fucking thing like that. You want me to show you how to do that in your home too?
So I guess Andrew bought a business also. So he had to do quite a bit to facilitate
These
this.
angels are doing a lot of work for their cases. That's all I know. We don't have all the details.
When he's like, if you saw anything on your computer, I'll come to your house right now and fix it. That part I was like, that seems a little weird.
He's just really protective.
But I think Kiki is not really into the whole idea, right?
Like, that's for babies. We don't do that. But she does seem to really like Andrew. She's like, he's a cool guy. Now we go to Charlie's work. One of the better places we'll go in this episode where...
Is this the best scene in TV history?
Yeah.
It's getting there.
I love everything about this. Honestly, immediately goes to a 10 when he and a coworker are trying to get to the bottom of some kind of a supply problem. Just a standard work thing.
Even that is funny.
It's great.
Because it's like they're not saying anything.
It's just something where they're going to have to let a customer know about where this shipment is.
Yeah, immediately right out of the gate says like, oh, I see, it's in
Des Moines.
Yeah, Des Moines. Oh, I'll let the customer know. And then they're writing things down and smiling.
The way he says it too is like, I'll just have to email him. And his coworker's like, isn't it amazing what computers can do these days?
We're still talking about it.
It's the weakest little opportunity to bring up computers so that then Charlie can say, I was just innocently ignoring my daughter when she talked about a pregnant male bunny when my other daughter tried to research Hawaii and then got on a porn site. Can you believe that shit, coworker? The coworker doesn't seem surprised.
Oh, sure, they're everywhere. Tell you, one time I was trying to order coffee beans. Got some nasty stuff. It's free.
You kidding?
No, for real. Check this out. It's a whole new world, my friend.
In the middle of the workday.
I guess back then maybe you wouldn't think you were going to get caught for it. I don't know.
I don't know. You don't know how busy or what the culture at Sheboygan Lumber is.
Very true.
Would you want, or do people want to be doing this at work?
Makes the day go by faster.
And it's totally free.
Do you think there was
Really?
some kind of intended double meaning there with lumber? And you know what happens when you look at a website?
Wood?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling it.
They might have been doing that. This scene is a delicious scene. It is so out of time and place from it just doesn't work.
Well, what you guys may not have noticed is this is the beginning of the end for Gary Cole's character. He's done.
And perhaps civilization.
It's basically he just barely resisted it before, and now his coworker just sealed his fate. It's over for him.
Also, the coffee bean thing is the same thing as the white thing. The idea that this guy he works with is like, I just typed in coffee beans. Next thing I know, I'm looking at nude roast.
And I liked it.
And it was great.
I got some nasty stuff. I love how he says that.
Fucked up shit.
Yeah, the coffee beans were gross.
Anyway, it's meatloaf time at the Radcliffe house.
Oh, man, we're bad out of hell or whatever.
And Monica immediately brings up the computer trouble they're all having because, you know, she happens to know this guy, this friend of hers that owns a cyber cafe, and he might be able to help them with their little porn computer problem.
Oh, so he kills people for God.
So Sarah excitingly says, hey, I know that guy. I went to the cyber cafe. It's awesome, and so is he. And Monica says, well, I'm not really thinking about that anymore. This meatloaf reminds me of Harry Truman.
Go on.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
She just decides to eat meatloaf at her friend's house that she just met today and says, do you ever think of Harry Truman when you eat meatloaf?
And this is another, like, a real creep show thing where she's like, I know what this woman's into. It's like an undercover cop being like,
oh, yeah.
do you ever listen to the music of Tupac like I do?
This is like in Metal Gear Solid 2 when they were doing the SSS program, the Solid Snake Simulation program, to see if they could turn an ordinary soldier Raiden into Solid Snake based on the circumstances. And there was a lot of AI. They had a girlfriend seduce him. Her name was Rose. She changed her hair color because she knew he liked, I think brunettes is what she was. So it's just like that.
And also, like in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Harrison Ford, he's playing the Indiana Jones character.
Oh,
I wasn't sure if you knew that.
I do now.
He gets seduced by a woman, and the whole time she's acting like she's not a Nazi, but she is one.
Well, thanks for spoiling it for me. Turns out it wasn't really the Solid Snake Simulation. That was just there's a lot to it.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, the AI Metal Gear Arsenal crashes into New York and destroys several buildings?
And then Kurt Russell has to get him out of there.
Except the game was set to release, and then 9/11 happened.
Oh,
so they
yeah.
removed a lot of that imagery, and so now it doesn't make sense. Like you're fighting, and then boom, the last bit is you fight Solidus Snake, the third brother from the Les Enfants Terribles project. You fight on this destroyed New York area with samurai swords.
That sounds fun.
It's pretty fucking cool.
Do you know what someone who likes meatloaf, Harry Truman, and computers is?
What?
3rd century woman.
I bet she's lived through a lot more than that, though.
Oh, more than Kate knows, that's for sure. So yeah, Monica is a huge hit with the family. We could say they all seem to love her, right? Immediately, she's just one of the family.
Somebody shows up, starts blathering about Harry Truman, you're on board.
The next scene, we go back to Charlie's work, and he and that porn site, they're not done. Charlie can't resist this time because he's just on his desktop staring at his icon that says Sheboygan Lumber. That's really, from what I can tell, that's the only thing on his desktop until he gets a little pop-up.
Well, it's in his email, right?
No,
it's one new message or whatever.
Yeah, it's just on the home screen. It says, you have mail. And then there's a button you can click, not multiple buttons. And the button you can click just says, okay.
Oh, and he's okay with it.
Oh, he is. And you know how it pops up a new email, and soon, you know what else pops up? Gary Cole's boner. Completely unconcerned with how he's at work, Charlie just starts wildly clicking the porn links and clearly getting pretty into it. His face, a little bit suspicious and skeptical at first, loses all that. It turns into sheer joy.
There are
a couple
close-ups
seconds
in the
into it.
montage of him clicking the mouse.
And there's a montage. How long does this go on?
It's pretty great.
It's like 3 minutes.
And he does a little bit of a creep smile.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he does ham this part up a little bit.
He does a little.
Yeah.
The only thing we really see is that the email says hot, hotter, hottest on it.
Well, it says, greetings, friend. This is the actual email, the text part before he clicks on it. It says, greetings, friend. You may not already know, but this is your lucky day. things are heating up. Click here for hot, hotter, hottest.
I wonder if he went straight for hottest.
You think so?
I don't
No.
know.
It
Oh.
seemed like
Gotta
it was
build
building
up.
up because of all the clicking.
I don't even think he went to hotter. I think he went right to hot. He knows his limitations.
Just when you're wondering, like I was, how can he just do this during his work day like he can? We discover that he can't. His supervisor is knocking on the door, entering, and immediately calling him out. And Charlie, we've got your internet traffic report. You're on porn sites. And that's kind of a problem. There's a zero tolerance policy here for that. And this is going to go on your record. And boys upstairs, almost certainly going to let you go for this.
Now, could they in real time be monitoring someone?
If so,
Not then.
And
No
if
way.
so, at that
Yeah.
time, I'm impressed.
Yeah, because I feel like no one would do that now.
I don't know. This is the year 2000. Like, porn in the internet hasn't taken off quite yet. I feel like, wouldn't you give the guy a little bit of leeway to explain?
Let's be honest. He's a man with an office. He has
Yeah,
his own
he's
office.
important.
He'd get some leeway.
Especially considering his claim that it really just popped up on his computer and he clicked on it. We don't know at this time period how pop-ups work that well. You'd have to be like, oh, okay, well, let's just,
You'd have to give him the
you
benefit
can't
of the
happen
doubt.
again or something.
But no, this gray-haired guy, who is an underrated character, I must say, just stomps his ass in here, yells a bunch, and then leaves and is never seen
it
again.
happens really fast. Like
Mhm.
at first he just kind of says like, I'm not one to judge, but we got your internet report and you're fired. Like just
Well, he
happens
actually does it weirder
immediately.
than that. He says, the boys upstairs might fire you. If I were you, I'd go ahead and quit.
Yeah, it gets real.
It's kind of weird.
It gets real shady. Maybe he doesn't like him. Maybe
Oh,
he
could
wanted him
be.
gone anyway, and here's his chance.
Could be.
And he makes a reference to this is the second time this week. So they clearly had the report that he clicked on it the first time.
And didn't care.
Well, okay, I guess because it is a montage scene, we don't know how long he was on.
It could have been 4 hours.
Yeah, it could have been. And so then that's how they found out. It's 3 hours later. They saw the first hour and he's still doing it.
There might be a lingering question
Doing it.
that any listener's wondering. And no, he's not jerking it.
No, he's got a boner.
He's just watching.
A chub, at least.
He's watching to
enjoyably.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just seems like he enjoys the content for the content's sake.
He's filing it away in his brain, which, as you might find out,
Sometimes you can't delete those files when they get in
the
there.
computer, the brain,
Yeah.
brain computer.
His boss, who I don't believe ever learned his name, does suggest, like, we can go through this whole process, even though it is zero tolerance, or, you can just resign and your reputation will be safe.
And then when a prospective employer calls, we won't say what you were doing, I guess.
That's the end of that scene, but it quickly gets resolved because at the Radcliffe house, briefly we see Sarah and Kiki. They are balls deep in some serious internet shit. Namely, that little code phrase that only cool internet people know, downloading.
Mhm.
They're downloading pictures to use for school. We do get a little bit of Kate doing her thing like, what's downloading?
They do not make Kate believable in the year 2000 as an adult.
She does ask a fair question when they're like, well, it just means taken from the internet. When she's like, are those pictures legally copyrighted? She doesn't say
Yeah.
it that way.
She's right about
but
that.
she
one,
has
though,
a
yeah.
point. Yeah. And no one thought about that at all, like until recently.
I also like the show's idea that these two girls are hard at work for school downloading one photo of Hawaii together.
It took a while back then.
There's just no active thing to be doing while that's... I speak from experience. If there was a process you needed to start on the computer, you did another thing.
Oh, yeah. You walked away.
Yeah.
Sarah, this is when she does her mocking of her caveman mother thing about the Pentium processor and the chopping vegetables thing.
What was she thinking? AMD Ryzen 9 5900X 12-core 24-thread processor with precision boost overdrive does.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I can do a lot more than chop vegetables. Kate, by the way, gets a little bit of revenge on her shitty little daughter. And she says, just wait till you need a, what is it?
Victorian
a
wedding
Victorian
dress.
wedding dress. And I actually liked Sarah's response here, which is don't hold your breath.
Yeah, because no one needs that. Not even people who are getting married.
And perhaps Sarah is thinking like, I'm not getting married.
But she could be.
I like to think that.
Although she seems shortly to want to get married.
Or, yeah.
And I will say, Evan Rachel Wood is pretty good for a child actor.
Yeah.
Child
I agree.
actors are all bad.
Yeah, she does fine.
But she does fine. And I think she's an adorable little girl. Like, for whatever reason, I saw this and I went, maybe kids aren't so bad. They are. They're as bad. But she is just a cute little girl.
But these are also kids old enough to have, like, they can have thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. They're like 12. Or,
They
These
might
aren't
even-
kids that'll poop on your shoe or something.
They might even know what a URL stands for in Sarah's case.
Uniform Resource Locator.
And fucking Kate doesn't even know what that is.
So Kiki says at this point, she's like, let's get out of this terrible, antiquated place. I didn't mean to, that was like a double meaning
Yeah.
considering Kate's love of antiques, but she says, let's go to my house and use my color printer.
Holy shit.
The girls leave, and this is where we continue the important scene from Charlie's work, because he comes in carrying that dreaded banker's box full of personal possessions, which is a pretty clear sign that you've cleaned out your stuff and
That's
been fired.
shorthand. They've got these banker boxes just lying around.
It's also 4 o'clock, so there's a lot of red flags as to what's going on with Charlie. Kate says, "What are you doing home?" She doesn't have any idea. She's not putting anything together, and the scene fades, and it's clear when it resumes that Charlie did come clean, at least mostly. Later on, I would say, with the benefit of hindsight, that he hasn't really told her that much at this point. The bare bones.
He's told her what happened, not why.
And not to what extent.
Or how hot it is.
Yeah, he hasn't said how many clicks it took to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop.
I do like how in the world of Touched by an Angel, all you have to do is go to the homepage of a quasi-porn site and it has your email.
Or maybe just the homepage of your browser.
So if they're emailing proactively to do their marketing, is this porn site have like a mailing list? It's like, do you want to get on our hot?
Subscribe here.
We work hard on our content to send you your mailbox every day.
Click our MailChimp link.
And every website presented, the porn ones or otherwise, look like nonsense junk adware stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing looks real.
Kate is in tears about this, as you guys referenced. She's distraught, although probably not for the reasons you would think.
Not about
she
the loss
would
of
be.
income.
Not so much that, but more what the computer did to them, and that it started from their own home. Charlie explains the chain of events to Kate so that she can get some kind of grasp on what happened and how it got this way, which started with Sarah's discovery, to his mentioning at work, to his coworker showing him the site he found, to the email he got from the porn site later in the week. Just all happenstance. Kate wants to know if he shut it off right away, because that's the most important thing to ask right now. He says, yeah, totally. And she says,
sure. Yes.
Kate believes him. She's like, okay, well, this is stupid then. You didn't do anything wrong. And I think the best thing to do at this point, since everything's so unfair and computers are awful, we gotta get rid of that thing.
Did you guys know this? Touched by an Angel never mentions this. Pornography existed before the internet.
I don't think so.
No, it did.
But
No.
now they can pipe it right into your home, though, Brian. Before, you had to risk your reputation, and now you can just get it.
Pretty sure they just sold magazines at gas stations.
Charlie actually has the proper response to Kate being like, we got to get rid of the computer. He has like a what the fuck look on his face and kind of asks her like, well, I don't know. And she has a quick counterpoint, which is, would you bring pornographic pictures into our home? Charlie says, no, of course not. She says, the computer did.
It waltzed right in the door with a folder full of them under its arm.
Touche, Kate. Touche.
We see them as they attempt to sleep later that night. Kate does seem to be asleep, but Charlie is wide awake.
Oh, boy.
Fantasizing about porn, or rather clicking on the porn links, because that's all he actually did, longingly, as he tries to sleep that night.
This is hilarious that he can't get the thought of hot, hotter, hottest out of his head.
Yeah, dissolving images of it flash across the screen.
All while his just boring antique wife lies next to him. He's just thinking hot, hotter, hottest.
I guess she didn't wake up when the sheet began to rise.
I can feel my own sheet beginning to rise. That means let's take a break.
Believe me, I'll walk with you.
At Millie's school, Millie observes that Marshmallow's pregnancy looks to be nearing an end and tells Tess, well, I'll bring in a cabbage leaf for the big day. Tess says, what the fuck are you talking about? And I says, the cabbage leaf. It's for bunnies to land on when the Easter Bunny drops them from the sky.
Of course, Tess, dumbass.
I think that this particular lore, this fairy tale of what sex is completely made up in the world of Touched by an Angel. Because
no one's
ever heard this, and anyone watching this is thinking the same thing I'm sure we all were, which is get back to the other plot.
Even Tess's reaction, though, to it almost seems like they made the little girl improv that, because Tess is like, "What are you doing? What a cabbage leaf?" She seems kind of mad more than anything else. Anyway. Tess knows this shit needs to resolve itself and soon, because I'm sick of hearing this shit. Back to the cyber cafe.
Yeah. This is a good scene, too.
The fact that we walk in, so to speak, as a viewer to the cyber cafe with Andrew, he's wearing an apron, so he's clearly working shit behind the counter.
Right.
And also simultaneously, he's troubleshooting internet issues for his customers.
He's also troubleshooting psychological issues.
If that's not an angel, guys, I don't know what is.
They should have known. And I totally buy, as Bill Lundberg comes in here with his box of computers,
wheeling it in,
that you would need a dolly to move a computer from that era, because the
It's
screen
real big.
alone weighed 150 pounds.
And did you know that after this, Andrew actually founded his own web serving thing?
What's it called?
Angel Fire.
Oh, that wasn't David Boreanaz?
He's an angel.
Maybe they went in together on that one. It's expensive to buy a web service at that time. So yeah, Charlie wheels in this massive family computer in a huge box and says, I hear you guys buy used computers. Kind of the short answer here is no, we don't. But Andrew does come up with a deal for him. He's like, well, I do have one broken. I can rent yours. And then in exchange, you can just have our services for free here and you can have coffee, which is actually Charlie's idea to make himself believe he won that trade. But they didn't really so much seem like they buy used computers. I feel like Charlie was wrong.
Better to just give Charlie the coffee than have him accidentally search for coffee beans.
We know what happens when we do that.
Nasty.
Meanwhile, Monica and Kate's bond continues to deepen. It appears Monica has brought in another antique for Kate to marvel at. I don't know where she's even finding these.
Is she gauding them into appearance?
Kate comments that they had one of these when she was a little girl. It's just some really ancient looking old black and white TV. And she says, well, we were probably the only stupid family watching Bonanza in black and white. Monica tries to appease her here and it's like, what a nice memory that must be for you.
What a boring memory that must be.
And then Kate goes a lot darker and says, we did upgrade just in time for the Vietnam War. Kate recalls sitting there in front of the TV looking for her father as she watches the images of the Vietnam War and then turns dramatically to Monica and says, I never found him.
And then Kate did the most logical thing when she turned her grief and loss and hate at the 20th century.
Bad things happen, so technology bad.
Very strange way to take this.
My dad died in the war, so I hate 1900s.
A lot of people at the time also were readily there to tell her, maybe the Vietnam War wasn't something America should have been involved in. But no, let's get mad at time's progression.
You know who wasn't involved in the Vietnam War? Harry Truman.
No, he wouldn't do that.
Too good of a man.
He's underrated. Come out like Meatloaf.
It makes me so mad.
It's in the middle of this that the plot we really want to hear about is about to pick up. Sarah enters the scene in a frenzied state, shouting to her mother they've been robbed. When Kate has her slow down and tell her exactly what happened, of course we know they weren't robbed, it's just that the computer has been taken and sold. Kate delivers this news with an evil smile, telling her daughter, oh, the computer wasn't stolen, it was deleted.
I'm going to make everything about your education and future way harder.
And by some miracle, Sarah takes this just fine.
Sort of. She says computers are so complicated and dangerous, they've decided to become a computerless family. And Sarah says, well, I mean, whatever, but as soon as I'm 18, I'm out of here.
But a real teenager would lose their fucking minds at this.
What she says, though,
that's a burn.
It's pretty good. That's going to sit there. They're like, you know what? I'll put up with you being a fucking freak for a few more years.
And then I'm out of here.
But I'm done after that. I'm living like I want to.
We're Splitsville, Kate. And calls her mom Kate.
Yeah, it's a real big disapproval of like her whole way of being.
Which I can completely understand.
Yeah.
So Sarah, alone with Kiki in the next scene, talks to Kiki about how far they've gone with boys, because Kiki seems like that kind of influence. And computers are probably infecting their brains.
There's a lot of boys in them.
Yeah, I think...
In the computer.
I think having used the computer, they're both worse people now, and it's starting to come out in their private talks.
Like a virus.
Exactly.
But because computers get viruses,
I'm starting to feel weird about us putting the podcast on the computer.
Let's etch it in stone and see how well it does.
So how far is Sarah gone? Well, she did kiss Jimmy D
but he's
at
a good
camp
kisser.
Once.
Of Jimmy Dean, of course, of the Sausage Empire.
Is it Dean?
It's D.
I thought,
it says D.
It could be Jimmy Dean.
You're going to love my sausages,
Well,
Sarah.
I'm taking a leap with what the D stands for.
How far do you guys think Kiki's gone?
Farther
than that.
I don't want to say because she's 11.
Well,
they're 13, which makes it no better.
No,
all she says is farther than that. That's all we know.
She put her tongue on the back of his head.
Tried to eat his head, I guess.
Well, not like licking, like just placed it on the back of his head.
Let it sit there.
Yeah, that's what teens do. I know. I was a teen once.
Tongue planking.
Sarah does act like, okay, I don't really want to talk about that. She's not really comfortable with this kind of conversation. She says, it makes me feel weird. Kind of like how I did when I went to that website the other day. Kiki says, fuck yeah, let's pull that fucker up right now.
It's so
Get
hot.
back on that website. And Sarah's a little bit reluctant, but she's like, okay, fine, let's be nasty little bitches. Even though the computer is gone, the login to whatever service the family was, whatever that internet service was, they can still use the login and get in there.
The show gets around any specifics by just always saying, but the account still works.
What account? I don't get
the
it.
account.
The internet account. They can still log in, and Kiki doesn't have one, even though she's missed technology.
And has the internet at her home.
Yeah,
like her parents are paying for it, or it wouldn't work.
Something doesn't work here. The girls log in and they head back to Hawaii, if you know what I mean. Sarah says she's really not that into it because it's just not that romantic.
But Kiki is. She's like, oh yeah, why? What is there that Kiki likes?
It's hotter. It's hottest. At one point, Kiki says, I have got to remember this one.
I'm going to be coming back to this site. This is one of my favorites I've ever seen.
And that's when Sarah's like, nah, it's not romantic.
There's a sunrise on this page.
Which is romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah has no taste.
It's one of the most romantic kinds of suns.
Jimmy Dean corrupted her.
Kiki says, I'll show you romance, and logs them into an online chat room where you go to talk to boys. That's what chat rooms are.
You know what the options on the chat room are?
No.
Because there are different ones you can go into.
Okay, let's hear.
All teen chat, general teen chat, teen romance, teen discussions, and finally, teens.
It was only for teens chat rooms at that time.
So is this just a teen-centric chat room hub?
I think. And those are your categories that you go into. Which would you go into, Brian? Probably general teen chat.
Yeah, just see what the people are saying.
and then if you can delve deeper. If
I guess I should make it clear none of us would go to any of these.
We do, certainly no.
But in this exact year, we were teens.
Well, you know who would go to probably all of those for reasons we'll soon discover.
Dean 16.
Dean 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Dean 16 is immediately Sarah's biggest crush she's ever had. They hit it off right away. I don't know. I guess they get each other. Kiki does have her lie and say that she's 16 too. She's making her pretend to be Sarah 16.
So she's assuming also that Dean is basing his screen name off an age that will inevitably change annually.
I remember actually, because I did go in general chat rooms at that age, and I remember people doing that a lot.
Yeah, I guess they did do that.
Also, you had to ask ASL back then.
Oh,
you had to go, what's your age, sex, and location?
So you did the chat room stuff. Brian, did you?
I did a little bit. I'd like to share a chat room experience while
please
we're
do.
all here.
Okay.
And it's about one of my experiences. So the first thing I thought to do just about was to go talk to people about music. So I'm in seeing a bunch of AOL music chat rooms. I had read a lot about music. I was into music, but I was also 12. So my knowledge is very limited and I don't really know what things mean. And I click in some sort of indie rock chat room. And my question to these people in the indie rock chat room, so these are probably real snobs from the 90s I'm talking to. People who I'd love to talk to now, except for they were probably dicks. But my question of these people was, do you guys like Nirvana? But that was a real insidery thing to ask. And I thought it was, by the way.
I bet it opened some doors.
I got shit on immediately.
I can imagine
it was such a modern experience. Everybody get the fuck out of here.
These are all these angry Gen Xers when they were young.
Exactly what it was.
That's who you got when you asked that question.
Exactly. And if I'm not on the record, Gen Xers, fucking calm down.
They are some mean, angry people.
And by the way, in the chat room before she hooks up with Dean 16, there's just a random chat room where several people are conversing. I have every bit from it that I'd like to read.
That rules.
I'll say their name and then I'll say what they typed in.
Okay.
Stylus. What did you say you were wearing? Milan B6. Well, it is small and white. Stylus. Would you like to go to a private chat room? Milan B6. Not in your life. I like the exposure. Heart emoji. Crickets. LOL, Stylus. She really means it. Ceiling goo. How would you know, Crickets? Crickets. Milan B6 and I go a long way back. Gray_RCH. Smiles. Ceiling goo. What are you grinning at? B5_spooky. The thought of Milan in a small white ... several ellipses. Canobra. I would love to get more specific. Heart emoji. Buffster B3 leaves room.
Wow.
What do you think he left for?
Jerking it.
Probably.
Or antiques.
It's probably Buff Bagwell. He had a match to go wrestle.
Back then. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I guess
so. Yeah, that would have been about right. He'd be pretty young, yeah. But what I wanted to bring that up for is because, again, I think the stuff that this show created to put in the background is kind of rich in the way they've done it. This is like a real teen chat room.
But all of it bumps up against the uncanny valley.
Yes.
And that's what makes this episode special.
That's where the magic is.
Yeah.
All right, we've established Dean 16 and Sarah 16 are love at first sight, and they're in the process of making their thing happen when we have to return to the cyber cafe. Charlie's hard at work updating his resume. He figures at this point, Andrew is both a resume expert and a psychologist, so he says, hey, this work thing, I accidentally clicked on some porn links and got fired, and I felt like I should tell you that as my newest friend.
Confidant.
Yeah, as somebody who I now trust deeply with all my secrets.
Andrew snaps right into action, too.
Andrew immediately doubts how much of an accident this was. He's a good guy, though, and he doesn't judge.
I got to point out that Andrew turns the chair around backwards and sits down in it. It's one of my favorite, I'm a confident in a TV show moves.
What better way?
Good.
What better way to show someone that you're listening and you care than to just swivel that chair around?
And look, I think outside the box about how to sit.
It's ultimate, youth group leader action.
Yes, exactly. And that's what Andrew feels like.
That's an accurate characterization of his character. Charlie, he's come clean to Andrew, but you can tell that the whole situation has him all worked up and he doesn't really feel he deserves this. He has a sentiment I think we've all felt like in our lives.
Oh, man. No wonder this country is in the shape it's in. I mean, you try to be a decent human being, you keep your nose clean, you stay out of trouble, and bam, you plug in the computer and trouble finds you.
Yeah.
Plug in the computer.
Absolutely 100% happens to all of us.
Oh.
Andrew says, your brain is like a computer.
You got to put your files in the recycle bin when you're done with them and occasionally defragment your brain drive.
Gary Cole says what he saw was weird and twisted also, which it's like a bikini woman.
But he also says it like it was weird and twisted.
And he
he's kind of, yeah.
Oh, Andrew, it was fucked up, but I got to tell you. Ooh.
Poor Andrew. Honestly, I know he's not the greatest character, but the idea of somebody who you just met opening up to you that way is very awkward. And I feel bad. I feel bad for Andrew.
One of the worst.
He eats it up.
He does.
One of the worst things a stranger can open up to you about is how horny they are.
Sometimes though, those files in your computer brain, you let them in, but you don't know how to get rid of them. You don't know how to delete them.
The recycle bin.
Yeah, Van went over that.
Charlie says, well, at least we got rid of the computer, so my daughters are
I threw my brain out.
At least we destroyed my daughter's future.
They won't have to worry the way I do, is Charlie's thought. But as we cut back to Sarah and Kiki, we see that Sarah is far from safe and far from protected because she's making quick progress with Dean 16, who's now sending pictures of himself and asking for one in return.
Not realistic. If it were realistic, it would have been a picture of his dick. I'm just saying.
So you see this photo loading on the screen right there of some kind of model, and the girls are immediately like, what a hottie, that's totally him. I have no doubt that Dean 16 looks just like that. The problem is, though, they got to get a picture of Sarah now, and Sarah's 13.
Looks like she's 11.
What's she going to do about it, guys? What's the solution there?
Digital camera.
Yeah.
Some stuff. I don't know.
What a product with a short shelf life that was.
Kiki apparently, she's supposed to pull off this I can work wonders with makeup thing right now, and she does the arm on your shoulder, I'll take care of you sort of thing.
Don't worry, kid, I got it.
Exactly like that.
When I'm true with you, you look like you're 40.
They get Sarah all dolled up, and she really just looks like she did before with lipstick on. And I get maybe they did something with her hair, but it's not much of a difference.
Like a choker, and that's it.
Should they ever hold up an ARP magazine?
They get that picture taken on that fancy digital camera, and they send it right back to Dean. That's a real quick turnaround in that time period for picture trading.
That digital camera was like $300.
Did you see how big it was?
Yeah. It looks like 300 pounds.
Yeah, it was so early on in a technology that would die like 5 years later.
I remember I had my first digital camera, which had like a 56 megabyte memory card.
Yeah.
I could hold 5 photos or something.
I bought my first digital camera in like 2005. So about 3 years later, all phones just had cameras.
So as Sarah's picture comes into Dean 16, we can't see him completely, but we get the camera pans to Dean 16's lair.
Okay.
And it is a lair.
This scene is brilliant. It's so good. As the camera slowly pans around and the ominous music plays.
And they can't say anything, so they have to show, not tell.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And did they?
They showed a lot.
They showed a lot. Empty or burnt cigarettes and his
couple of beer
T-zone.
bottles. There's some magazines of a guy that looked strong.
Like a buff guy?
Yeah, they're not porn magazines.
No, he was dressed.
Yeah.
And the close-up of Dean 16's face, too, where I guess we're supposed to get the hint in his eyes. This is a bad dude.
He's kind of sweaty now. He looks seedy.
We know what we're supposed to know about Dean 16.
And we know by now that the screen name should be Dean 32. At least.
Yeah, at the very least. There's ominous music in the background, too, and the close-up of his eyes is enough for us to see everything we need to know. Yeah, he's not who he says he is. He's, in fact, a dangerous internet predator who also smokes, by the way. All those cigarettes are
that
really
helps you to know he's bad.
Huge giveaway.
The pedophile stuff wasn't enough.
Just the smoking. That
That
really...
smoking in the beer
cherry on the
bottle
top.
in there. Yeah.
I'll bet he, trash around because he litters.
Oh, he looks messy. Unseen, Monica and Andrew are watching Dean 16 all the while in his apartment as he reels in his next victim.
This is another circumstance where I'm like, listen, God, come on, intervene now, you fucking creep.
And they do later, the angels do, so why don't they just do it now?
Yeah.
Andrew's there, he can give him the touch of death.
Sure.
He can just be like, Dean 16, that's it
I
for
guess
you.
God figures I'd like to
Rehabilitate him.
mess up Sarah's brain for the rest of her life real quick
Let me just
before
ruin
I
a
stop
kid.
it. Yeah.
I took it like saving Dean 16. You took it like ruin Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the God presented in Touched by an Angel is vindictive, spiteful, and lazy, loses track of what he's doing.
And really doesn't do anything. Just sends the
Yeah.
angels like, you guys can take care of it.
No wonder Tess is so bitter.
You know what? I see these families, husband and wife, they don't like each other. Make the daughter get molested, and then they'll learn their lesson. It's all worth it. I'm God. I do what I want.
What's this couple's not happy? I'm messing around with 50 people. What? Why?
You know what? I want a tsunami right there.
I'm going to have this predator go after their daughter. What are you doing? God, stop it.
What if it were a predator?
God, you've gone mad with power. I have the most power. Well, yeah, we can't fire him.
My son killed himself to make me better. Put the boulder in the cave.
I had Rick Thomas get him out after 3 days.
The vindictive God sketch.
In the next scene, Charlie is trying his hand at making homemade sauce, which he says a little
I think
bitterly.
he was trying that at the office.
He says a little bitterly here to Kate, I really thought I'd have a job before I had to start making sauce. By the way, the instructions for it, more garlic, and he has to boil for at least 6 minutes.
The instructions were not too much garlic in the sauce. Fuck you, Kate. There's never enough garlic in the sauce.
Is this a different sauce than the Street Hawk sauce?
No, I think this is the one, but they've perfected it because it's 20 years later.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I guess that's true. Speaking of it being 20 years after that, it feels too late for there to be I'd rather be at work than cooking as a man. No, I'm not even complaining about it being sexist. It's stupid.
It is stupid.
They've also, in this episode, upped the stakes quite a bit to be coming back to Gary Cole being like, oh man, I need a job.
Yeah.
While his daughter's about to be murdered. It's a strange scene and it doesn't fit the tone in any way of what's going on.
Yeah, this is a show full of tones. It shows you all the ones there can be and just shoves them in a bag and jumbles them up.
There's a bunch of tones and they're in no particular order. Tess, in the meantime,
But here's another tone.
brings Millie home. Millie has Marshmallow, and it's her turn to babysit him for the weekend. So Tess tells Charlie and Kate, hey, just to let you know, she is pregnant, and it's probably going to be this weekend where she has all the babies.
Pretty cool. I'm springing on this on you on a Friday, huh? That's cool, right? This is what teachers do. I bring your child home and give you a rabbit for a weekend. What?
Tess says, hey, by the way, I noticed that Millie has been saying a bunch of weird shit about pregnancy and birthing, and you probably should talk to her about that. And they both act like, oh, yeah, no, we totally will do that. And Kate says, I can't. And Charlie's like, we'll get it. Don't worry about it.
Kate's like, I just can't do anything. I cannot.
God, I hate this century.
Oh, modernity.
There's an antiques emergency I must get to.
Back with Sarah and Kiki, Dean 16 and Sarah have been chatting for hours now. Dean 16 loves Sarah's eyes because they're the window to the soul and they're beautiful, so she must have a beautiful soul.
By the way, you've said eyes are the window of the soul like a dozen times before.
Have I?
Yeah, because that's like
true.
your goofy joke. And now it actually comes up in your plot. That's amazing.
It's almost like you handpicked it because you liked it so much.
Yeah, I saw that
Did
line.
you go through all the episodes looking for that line?
This was the only window idiom I could find.
Talk about keyword eyes are the window to the soul.
You know what else, guys, about Dean 16 is he lives real close to Sarah, right here in Milwaukee.
Which This is, I guess, a Wisconsin-based television show.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
You know, they film in Utah.
That is weird that we got 2 straight Wisconsin episodes.
Maybe they just liked Wisconsin.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, you know, they love coming up here. I wish we had some accents like that. It kind of got a little bit of like Swedish at the end there.
Well, there is a little bit of a lilt that's
Sure.
easy to do.
So, by the way, Sarah's also told Dean 16. I'm not really 16. I'm 13, by the way. It's okay, though, because Dean 16 doesn't really care.
Yeah, it's not a red flag at all. Cool.
Oh, not at all the worst thing anyone could hear.
Back at the antique store, Monica is visiting again, and Kate has a doozy of a sentiment to share here, which is something about looking through old pictures and saying, what do you know about that? A person can be born and then die, but the Eiffel Tower still stands there.
Okay. Again, I don't like Kate, and I don't think she's making an effort to be alive.
She's a very sad person.
One of the saddest characters we've ever encountered, because she also can't interact with anyone at any point without saying, I like the past.
It is a deep observation that many people have lived and died, and the Eiffel Tower has been there all the while.
A structure built to stand a long time has.
Wait a minute. So you said she likes the past, right?
Uh-huh.
Does that make her the anti-Great Gazoo?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because he hates the past.
Yeah, and she can't fly.
Or grant wishes.
Yeah, she sucks, and the Great Gazoo is probably cool. We don't know. We'll
never know.
Yeah.
This is a series of pictures that Kate's looking at. The Eiffel Tower is just one of them.
And like an ancient viewfinder? What is this thing?
I'm guessing Monica did this again.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, I found these cool old pictures.
I raided God's supply cabinet to get
serious.
some stuff.
What is Monica doing?
She's like, let me look for stuff that sucks and bring it to Kate because she'll like it.
So Kate comes across a picture we don't see, of course, and physically recoils. Well, we have enough of an idea about Kate to know what this is. She doesn't go into details, but she says, you know, at this time period, art studies were just a way to look at naked ladies. But at least back then you had to risk your reputation. Now, as I mentioned earlier when Brian was saying that porn's always been around, she says, now they can just pipe it right into your home.
She's fine with porn in this
at a cost, I guess.
But you need to pay for it.
You need to be punished.
What a strange, horrible woman this is.
What if there was like a chute in every house and porn was piped in through that chute?
I think that's what she thinks the
Because that's
internet
what she thinks it is. But like, I mean it, like magazines and DVDs or VHS.
Just like a
era.
dildo flies down the chute.
Firing out of the chute is like, oh, jammed up with dildos again.
Oh, we need to get it unclogged. Andrew.
Sarah at this point rushes in to interrupt the scene and tell Kate she's headed back to Kiki's. She's breathless for reasons only we understand, but Kate's just like, what are you doing at Kiki's so much lately? It seems like you're constantly there. And Sarah just kind of shrugs this off like, oh, she's like my best friend, okay? It's totally normal that I'm going over there. And she just runs out. Kate shares to Monica, she's still upset at us about losing the computer. And Monica says like, well, we thought about not getting rid of the computer since that was a dumb idea. After all, computers are here to stay, just like the Eiffel Tower. It's a good way to reason with her, mention the Eiffel Tower.
I hope the Eiffel Tower fucking falls down just to spite this stupid show.
You're going to rub that right in Kate's face.
I would. I'd climb in there and be like, you love your antiques? Well, look at France now.
It's time for more Sarah Dean 16 action. Now he wants to meet in person, so he has upped it as far as it can go. Sarah actually is really excited about this, despite that she shouldn't be, and thinks it's adorable that he's nervous about meeting, which Kiki also thinks is adorable. Kiki does offer to go with her, which would have been a good idea, I think, at least having someone else there.
Maybe, except for the fact that then it could be two abducted girls if God didn't intervene.
Because we never know what he is or isn't going to do.
In any case, Sarah's like, no, you're not coming with me. He's mine. Dean 16 is totally all mine. And
You're
Kiki
trying
says,
to snatch her up.
Yeah. Kiki's like, this is so romantic. What's happening between you and Dean 16 is the hottest thing. It's starting to get to where we have our climax in the plot. And I'm telling you, this is a whirlwind here, scene to scene.
Oh, it is.
We're back at the cyber cafe. Andrew is telling Charlie how much more efficient applying for jobs online is compared to doing it in person. A concept that honestly, I do think Charlie gets, but it's
he just
kind of
had
like,
a job where he had an office and a
should know all
computer
about
in it.
that. Yeah, but he seems to be like, look, while I get what you're saying, I kind of have my own thing where I can't rely on the internet. I can't trust it. And then he decides, let me be completely honest with you. Some of those files haven't been able to delete them. Just like you were talking about, Andrew, can't stop thinking about porn. So I really shouldn't probably use too much internet myself.
whatever's going on with Charlie here, the show's assuming that this whole time Charlie, the character, has never encountered porn of any kind, right?
You would think, based
For
on
him
his
to be-
reaction
that-
here.
He has a reaction that is, I can't really, like some sort of, like a heavy addiction.
Oh, yeah. And it's like you've never been to a video store or a gas station.
What he
or-
sees is no different than like the cover of a Sports Illustrated swimsuit
Right.
magazine that you would see at a anywhere.
If they are trying to present Charlie as a person who is that at risk for addiction, we have really got an interesting character study there.
We have, because this man made it to 40 without being addicted to anything, but apparently is very susceptible to it.
I will question that. Perhaps he's addicted to garlic, which necessitated the not too much garlic comment.
And maybe he didn't boil it for 6 minutes. That was another thing with that sauce. Andrew understandably says, like, so Charlie, are you sure really me is the person we should, are you wanting to talk to me about that, or should you tell Kate? That does get him to understand, okay, yeah, it's time. It's time to have the talk with Kate about what's really been going on in my head. Later that night, as Charlie and Kate get ready for bed, Charlie's updating Kate in the job search process. This is all just normal stuff. They settle into bed together, and Kate says, we haven't seemed as close as we normally do.
Yeah, because you guys treat your love life like a business.
It's also touched by an angel lingo for, we haven't been fucking real good lately, which
And
they
let
can't
me just say, at no point is there chemistry between these two characters. And at no point in the way that they're written do I see this as a couple that fucks.
Do you think that's intentional, or do you think that's just a product of just getting the wrong actor?
Yeah, because I don't think this show would present a couple that is supposed to have sex with one another, other than for procreation.
That would be up to the actors to have that chemistry that you just feel, and yeah, it's not.
And this is like,
there.
have you ever been in an argument with a significant other and you feel a physical distance in the room that isn't there?
Oh, sure.
Like there's a certain Paul in the room. I feel that for these characters. That's how much they seem not to like being around one another.
It's one of those things where you like, often when these scenes happen where they're talking to each other, you kind of like avert your gaze because
I don't
it's
like
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is all stuff they can kind of get into and delve into now as they're in bed, and it's time to, what's ailing the marriage, so to speak. Maybe it's time to get into that. Kate suggests, this isn't some kind of thing. We've been weird because you're upset about losing your job, right? Charlie says, no, it's not that. Here's the thing. I didn't click off those porn links quite as fast as I said I did.
She acts betrayed, too.
You lied to me?
She was betrayed, yes.
But that reaction that she has,
it's strong.
I just don't see why she went there with it. I would want to know, like, okay, you want to tell me the real story than what happened? But she's like, you lied to me?
Yeah, and like, I don't understand the boundaries and the rules they've set up together in their relationship in this fake, stupid
If you
show,
ever see
but
work porn propaganda, you have to click off within 3 seconds, Charlie.
her conception of this is as if he has had a long-term emotional and physical affair.
It really is that kind of a reaction. And you know what? Maybe we're being too nice to him in this scenario, but he is open. He is forthright about it. He explains why he's having problems. He's not saying like, I hate you. I think you're disgusting. He's saying, this happened. I'm having a lot of trouble with it. That's why there's some distance. Hey, let's work on it. And her reaction is, you lied to me?
And then she says, are you fucking addicted to porn, you disgusting fucking creep?
Punches him right in the face.
Charlie says, no, I'm not addicted. I'm just trying to be honest. He's addicted. Kate seems distraught, and all she can think to do is she turns away and she just says, kind of to no one, because she's not talking to Charlie at this point, is everything was fine 2 weeks ago.
First off, no, it fucking wasn't.
And for anyone out there who says that about their relationship, 2 weeks ago it was perfect. If it seems not to be, it wasn't.
It
As Van just
absolutely
said,
wasn't.
things were wrong and perhaps you were ignoring them.
What if we were reading the situation wrong and really what's happening here is Charlie saying like, honey, it was so hot. I want you to look at it with me. And then we can grow together watching Hot.
I feel like Kate would totally be open to that.
Yeah, Kate.
She's that kind
of
of
all
person.
people.
Well, you just have to get her some antique porn.
Yeah, okay, yep. Well,
Which
no,
is
because
a
that's what
wood-
she had earlier.
Well, you need like a wood carving of some stick figures doing it.
Well, the Sarah Dean 16 date is upon us, guys. It's time for it to happen. Sarah waits in the agreed upon spot while a significantly older man approaches her and greets her. That's all I'm going to say is that he's significantly older than 13.
And that's how we know the date is really more of an abduction.
Yep. The funny thing, I actually like how they do this, where Dean 16, as some random guy to her, she doesn't think anything of this much older guy coming up to her and standing by her and saying hi. She just looks over and says, hi, and then goes back to looking for Dean 16. And he has to say, you look different from your photo.
Because of course he has to, because she's not expecting to see someone who could have been her bus driver.
As the ominous music returns from earlier and swells, the camera pans to Andrew, who is, of course, watching predator meet prey from a distance as the two shake hands in greeting. The scene fades to commercial break. We pick right back up in that spot, though, when it comes back from the cut. Dean admits, all right, so I'm not 16, and apologizes for not telling the truth. Sarah actually is too okay with this right off the bat. She's like, oh, that's all right. You know, we all kind of exaggerate online, don't we, Dean 16? She does say, so how old are you? And he's like, oh, I'm actually 19.
And when his syllable started, she should have left. Because that's an obvious lie. It needed to start with or maybe. I don't know.
Literally zero chance that guy is anything close to 19. He looks as much 16 as he does 19.
A crooked number begins that man's age.
There's something weird about his appearance. He's not like an old guy, but I don't know what it is. He just looks so old in this scene, the way it's probably the style of the time.
He's styled like the
in
time,
the expectation that he was supposed to be seen as a 16-year-old. Some of it just colors it to where he just looks comically old.
And I think to that extent, the show probably accidentally does a good job of how frightening this is. Because you think Dean 16, and we've seen a photo, and then when we see him middle-aged standing next to child Evan Rachel Wood, it is like...
It's stark.
Yeah, it is.
And there is a sense from the very beginning that she's uneasy about it, but wanting to play it cool because almost like doesn't want to embarrass herself if it's no big deal. She's not interested in Dean 16 the way she was, but she doesn't want to just pull the cord and be like, I'm out of here. So she tries to go along with it to be nice, I think.
She also thinks he's cool.
Sure.
So like he has his own places. If you're a kid, you don't want to seem like you're unwilling to do things. Let me tell you guys, as a person who was very unwilling to do anything, I took so much shit as a kid. Now, I guess you could say I stuck to my guns or whatever, but you don't make many friends that way by being like, I don't want to jump off this thing. I don't want to drink when I'm 12.
One thing I really hate about this guy, aside from the pedophile stuff, is that he looks...
That's the main one, but yeah, continue.
The big bullet point. Yeah. But here's the little asterisk, and you read this at the bottom of the page. He looks too much like Andrew. If you lined up those two actors, I would be like, which one's the angel of death?
Andrew has a blonde wig on.
There is something about their dumb faces that just kind of sits the same way.
Also looks a little bit like the singer from Queens of the Stone Age, who also has a little bit of that face.
The dialogue gets real creepy real fast, too, because Sarah says like, oh, I don't really know any 19-year-olds because that's a lot older than me.
Why would I unless I was related to them?
I would have no reason to know a 19-year-old. And Dean, in creepiest possible way, is like, well, sure you do. You know me.
Which the correct response would be like, you still don't. I'm 47.
And then Dean goes on a little, very manipulative diatribe about how she does know him because online, where they've been connecting, that's where people can really get to know each other at their heart, at their most basic level, and not with all that looks junk getting in the way.
And 25 years on, we know everybody acts more normal on the internet.
That's where you go when you want to be you, not when you want to lie about every single possible thing you can.
Most things are positive on the internet,
too. It's not just bloodletting all over strangers.
So anyway, Dean's got her somewhat pacified and is attempting to close the deal. And he says, hey, by the way, there's a nice place to eat if you want to go there. And Sarah's like, yeah, sure, whatever. From her perspective, she's thinking at least that'd be a public place, even if she is scared. Except Dean 16 drops the little line here. Oh, shoot. Forgot my wallet at my house. We'll just have to go there and pick it up.
When he does the I forgot my wallet thing, I, for a brief moment, thought the plot point was going to be that he's a cheapskate.
Oh, God.
Make her pay.
What if the episode had done that and never addressed any other part of it?
And that had been a shortcoming that women should pay.
Also, in just addressing that it was normal for them to be hanging out, like that would have been so alarming.
The good thing about this wallet forgetting thing, like I mentioned, is this house is close, so they can just go there. He does give her cleverly the option to wait, and he'll just come right back with it. Which again plays to her sense of like, I don't want to ruin this and act uncool to this cool older guy. No, that's fine. I'll just come with you to your house. We'll just be there and back,
he,
right?
Like a real predator from having engaged with too much true crime, does the thing where he acts like he's giving her a choice so that she'll go along with it.
That's the one thing the show got right is how well they did the creepy stuff.
I'm telling you, this scene here was as believable and effectively creepy as anything they did because they actually did it realistically, and it's kind of disturbing. All the while, by the way, as these two are concocting these plans, and honestly, Dean 16's concocting a whole lot more than that, the angels are once again watching Tess and Andrew in concern, understandably, and they summarize the situation as only angels can.
One little girl types one single word into a computer, nobody's watching, and nobody knew enough about how it works to prevent it. One unprotected moment, and a man has lost his job, and his marriage has lost its joy, and his daughter might lose her life. You better get going, Andrew.
Oh, and by the way, Sarah's about to die. Anyway, Andrew, do
A
something about
man
that.
looked at a woman in a bikini, and a little girl's going to be murdered.
A word is typed into a computer. Sure, if that word's butthole, you're going to get butthole stuff.
This sort of oversimplification that makes it seem like the internet itself like a doomsday device.
It's getting to the point now where the family is going to be aware that something's up with Sarah, but at the cyber cafe, Charlie is still unaware of this. He's just printing off what I assume are copies of his resume, so he is going with the idea to hand them out in person and not email them. And he's in a pretty good mood, honestly, when Kate bursts in with Millie, and he's like, hey, it's a pleasant surprise seeing you. And she says, where's Sarah? I haven't heard from Sarah. I feel like she might be with a predator. Charlie hasn't heard from Sarah. He doesn't know where she is, and honestly, it sounds like nobody knows where Sarah is. Kate's checked everywhere herself and can't figure it out, and it's at this point that the angels enter and are ready to tell them everything, including who they are. One of those moments in the episodes where they're like, hey, you know how you just met these people that are deeply involved in your life? No, we're angels.
And again, everyone reacts with, oh, okay.
Not even a word about it.
They go like, we are angels. Well, you can access a computer from a different computer?
That's my main question. It's like they said, we're from Nebraska.
Andrew does actually just kind of come in trying to solve the Sarah situation without explaining anything. He's just like, hey, your internet login is RadFam, right? Charlie's like, yeah, but we don't even have a computer, so I don't know what you're talking about. Andrew says, you never canceled your account, all ominously. Charlie's like, not yet. Kate's watching with horror. It's like, you can't do that. We don't even have a computer. Stop. I don't want you doing this because computers are bad. Monica takes over because they're confused and something does need to be said here about what exactly is going on. She says, look, I don't have time to explain everything, but you guys know, you've known all along, deep within your heart, something evil has been attacking this family.
This is Babadook.
Sometimes God sends angels to fight that evil.
Could be Jason.
Guys, those angels are us, as we said. And the family, they just stand together in the full reveal. Angels are bathed in that subtle light. You guys might not notice it.
Kate's more focused on, again, how do we still have the internet?
The angels' true identities are disclosed. They come clean about everything they know, but Charlie and Kate, they don't really care. They're mostly just confused about how Sarah was getting online without the computer available. So it finally dawns on them why she was spending so much time at Kiki's and what exactly is going on here. So Kate glances at the logs of Sarah's internet activity, which I think is what they have pulled up, what Andrew was able to access through their family login.
Yeah, the chats between Dean 16 and Sarah.
The realization that the internet usage account is still active, and then the logging into it is treated as if a tech mystery for all times has been solved.
It really does seem like some sort of engineer work or hacking.
Yeah, almost hacking. And Kate, by the way, still doesn't understand how there's still an active account to a degree to
Only
which
thing she cares about.
Her logical skills are clearly not. This isn't a tech thing. Her inability to even understand that if you have an account with the utility company, that when you shut the utilities off, your information's still on. Like, she just has no ability to comprehend the situation at hand. I'm sorry, I can't stop talking about her because it's a character.
It's understandable.
A character who is written to be frustrating only.
The question she has too upon reading these logs is, what's Dean 16?
Not who even.
Andrew says, he's not 16. That's his answer.
That doesn't answer anything.
What's Dean 16? It's actually Monica who, again, has had to step in several times since Andrew can't really answer questions well in the scene. And she's like, he's a very dangerous man, and Sarah's with him right now. So that's what they need to hear. They need to understand Sarah's in danger, and this is why. So Monica says, it's time to move. We got to go find her. Don't worry, I'll take Millie home. Charlie, Kate, and Andrew rush out of the cafe together.
What if this was all an elaborate plot by the angels to kidnap Millie?
You never know what those angels are up to. They're skipping towns all across Wisconsin, getting different jobs.
We have a big reveal of Dean 16's apartment now, that it's not just the overview shot behind him as he's at his computer, but we see the whole thing, which is some kind of, I don't know, it's almost decorated like a storage unit in a way. It's just shelves everywhere and messy and
it's
shit
really
laid
dark.
out.
It's like one of those places that Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman would go through in Seven.
That seems about right. So Dean 16's plan at this point is once he gets her in, because Sarah immediately is like, I thought we were just getting your wallet. What's going on? I've got an album for you to listen to.
Specifically, he says CD.
CD.
Which I had to mention because you would only say that in actually a pretty narrow window of history.
So what CDs does Dean have? I think it's going to be...
I'm glad you did. I meant to go back and do this, did not do it.
I looked up a few. Most of it wasn't interesting, but there was Mad Season by Matchbox 20 or Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
This is a top 40 guy. And those both had just come out, I think.
And there was and this is the month that this episode came out, May. Yeah. These were released. Hit Me Baby One More Time.
None of those are what he puts on Sarah's head. I don't know exactly what that
Sounds like The Offspring or something. That's the vibe it gave me. I guess it was still a month before anyone could have bought White Pony by Deftones, which came out in June of 2000 when I was doing driver's ed in summer school.
Driver's ed.
Yeah, I had to do that so my insurance would be cheaper.
You know what you were then is Brian 16. Dean 16's plan is, I've got her this close, I just need to distract her long enough to give her a drugged drink, which he does pretty smoothly, I guess. He opens his soda while she's listening to music, pours the unidentified orange liquid in there, and then has... You think that's what it is?
I think it's Tang.
Canned Tang.
Yeah. That's where Tang comes from.
And this is all normal. Like when you go over to someone's house and say, hey, do you want anything to drink? And you're like, no, thanks. Like, yes, you do. And then you're like, okay. Then they hand you a drink and stare at you expectantly and say, drink up.
Yeah, first they shove headphones on you and force a soda into your hands, which, by the way, when he's in the kitchen, he cracks that soda open. I would just get it in the can. He has to pour it in a cup so he can get his little eyedropper stuff out.
Yeah, he has an eyedropper full of poison that he just carries around at all times.
He puts whatever that is. He puts several drops of it in Sarah's orange soda and brings it over to her. As Brian said, thrusts it at her. And she's like, hey, that's a good song. Let's fucking go, Dean 16. He's like, nuh-uh, you're going to drink that soda. You seem really thirsty. And at this point, Sarah is absolutely done.
Sarah is naive when she's using the internet, but pretty quickly, we pointed this out earlier, she knows something's up even before they get here. And I like that the show made Sarah smart enough to be suspicious, at least.
The thing that is annoying about this scene, I'm sure you guys took note of it, is what seals it for her is not all this other stuff where he's forcing the drink, but looking around and being like, why are all these cigarettes and booze here? You said you didn't smoke or drink.
Yeah, again, the show mixing things together that don't need to be mixed together. It wants to moralize about vices a person might have and combine them with horrific, monstrous crimes worse than anyone could commit.
In addition to the cigarette and the beer, there's also a muscle magazine. That is featured prominently.
I thought you said you didn't like to work out.
He didn't.
This is Sarah's final thing here of like, okay, I'm out on this guy. He told me he didn't smoke or drink or have muscle magazines, and he does all of those things. So Dean 16 says, well, those are someone else's. Those aren't mine. And Sarah doesn't let him off the hook at this point. She's shed the shy skin, and she's like, whose are they?
Oh, my victims.
He's like, well, just fucking drink your drink and we'll talk about it then. So Sarah doesn't. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. This isn't right. He grabs her arm very firmly, and bad stuff is about to happen, except now is the time that Charlie and Andrew bust in, ready to save the day. The first thing that happens, by the way, is Andrew slapping the glass out of Dean 16's hands and having it shatter on the floor.
Andrew comes into this scene ready to go. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Would you say he comes in hot, hotter, and hottest?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sarah has the opportunity to run into her dad's arms while Andrew takes care of the predator himself.
And I cannot see this John Dye guy as a badass.
No.
And he's trying to be, and it's supposed to be in the scene, but he's got that big, just round, puffy face.
What a great face-off this is between Andrew and Dean 16.
It's like, I would love to watch these two go and fight hand-to-hand.
Like an actual one, yeah.
Like slap the fuck out of each other. Both get tired too quickly.
So Dean 16 does get aggressive, or at least as much as he can, and he grabs a nearby bat, tries to savagely beat Andrew's skull in, but this is what I was mentioning a while back. Angels are strong as shit. Andrew just pulls the bat away from him. I don't think he really did. It looked like some kind of effect.
What it was is it's supposed to be the guy swings at him and Andrew puts his hands up and
just
stops
too hard, yeah.
Just on the spot, no recoil or anything. To film that, they put the bat in his hand and reverse the footage, which sure, I guess it accomplishes the thing, but it makes it look stupid.
Yeah, I don't know if we've covered this. Show looks like shit. Like a
Not
lot of stuff looks bad.
A bad 90s show.
And Andrew's look that he gives him when he stops the bat is the attempt of like, yeah, you know who you're fucking with right now.
You just messed with the wrong polo shirted angel.
The most important order of business here, not getting Sarah out, not making sure that Dean 16 pays for what he's done. We got to bust that computer up because that's what caused this whole thing.
My E-machines.
Now, how does he do that?
Oh, he just smashes it with the bat.
You know, a lot of times especially recently, I mentioned I was on the episode, or maybe last episode, that I was reading a book about 70s film, and you'll read something and be like, that's where this director in the 90s got it from. So I think Kirk Cameron watched this episode of Touched by an Angel. He takes one look at Andrew beating up a computer with a baseball bat, and he's like, I know what I'm doing in Fireproof.
I'm just as cool as that guy.
It's like 8 years later, and he has the exact same technology in Fireproof that he uses for that.
Yeah, and the porn is just as believable.
It's the exact same concept. He seriously probably was inspired by this episode.
I think there is a non-zero chance that that's true. That this is like a formative text of media for Kirk Cameron. And then, years after that, I'll film a brunch with my sister.
And I'll get to talk to Andy Pettit. No one gets any of this.
No, I don't
Just
care.
watch whatever Keeping Up with the Camerons or whatever it is on whatever platform that is, and you'll know all about
Kirk
what we're
Cameron's
talking about.
brunch talk show with obstacle courses?
It legit is a Kirk Cameron hosted talk show filmed at his own house.
Yeah.
And it's, despite his vast resources, very terribly done.
It's kind of like drone music, and that there's like nothing really happening. You kind of have to give yourself to it. But then if you're with your friends, you might start laughing until you cry.
Oh, God, yes. This Dean 16 thing ends here. I don't think we really get a good idea of what exactly Andrew did or what happened.
No,
but
I think we have to assume Dean's about to do 16 to life for his crimes.
Dean 16 did not, in fact, whoop your ass.
I assume that Andrew did not physically assault him or anything, but rather just turned him over to the cops or whatever. And
We do see the cops take him away.
do we?
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't even notice that. So that's Dean 16 is no more.
And the cops were probably like, why are all these people here?
We're angels, lady coppers.
Just telling the cops that open, like just
If the
starting with that.
okay. Hey, you know what? I didn't think this before. You guys would make awesome cops with your powers.
I like the idea too of once the angels reveal themselves to their case, they just start telling everyone they come across. It's like, we're angels. Back at the Radcliffe house to wrap this thing up with a real sweet bow on top, Monica has told Millie about her true identity, as we were talking about. She's like, hey, 7-year-old girl, I'm an angel. And Millie says, wow, that's so cool. Do you know about where babies come from? Monica says, yeah, oh, do I ever? But I'm going to let your parents tell you about that, even though they've done such a good job of that so far. What I will tell you, again, little 7-year-old Millie, babies are miracles from God. And the process of making one, like you, starts with a whole lot of love.
And possibly with hot, or hottest.
From the doorway, Gary Cole Charlie agrees with this. He says, that's right. Because he's just arrived home with Kate and Sarah. By the way, Sarah completely recovered already. Seems completely normal.
All their problems gone. Everything is
Right
solved.
under the rug.
And then some, because we're about to see a whirlwind of dominoes fall in favor of the Radcliffe family.
Which I guess is kind of the specialty of Touched by Angels. Let's just vomit at you at the end of the episode.
You open a fridge and an angel falls out and you figure your brother's deal out, or maybe you rescue your daughter from Dean 16 and all of a sudden you own a business.
Sarah is already kind of amused at the fact they're all angels and how they've been undercover this whole time. And she asks, like, with a lot of snark, again, despite what she's just been through, what, does God have angels on the internet or something? Monica says, God has angels everywhere, Sarah. And the family sits down so Monica can tell them all officially, now that this is all behind them, God loves them all very much. Light shines down upon her. It's very subtle.
Yeah, really for this speech. It's almost more light.
She says, these last few weeks, you've been attacked by Satan or evil or whatever you want to call it, just something bad. Could be Satan.
The advertisers say I shouldn't be too specific.
Evil is always trying to take down beauty in the world, guys. Like, like the Radcliffe family. Their beauty and everything against them is evil. Kate says, this is all too much. We almost lost everything, and I don't really want anything to do with computers. I don't care that you made it all better, angels. I hate the internet and I'm done with it. And Monica offers that calm-headed, sort of rational response to the idea that the Christians out there, or the people who are scared of technology, were sane, and Kate is the surrogate for them here. she gives them that episode thesis that Touched by an Angel is trying to convey here.
Kate, the internet itself is not evil. It can be amazing.
Super hot.
Imagine all of that information and those opportunities to learn and share ideas. There's never been a time like this. It's very exciting. It doesn't have to be frightening.
Kate's completely convinced and is like, yeah, fuck yeah, Monica, this is a great time. Fuck the Eiffel Tower.
One part of this whole thing where Kate begins the conversation at, and honestly in the Angels too, this is, I think, just like dessert for the target audience and still would be today. This stuff where the idea that evil is coming after good husbands and wives in their suburban homes, you know, because you're so happy and your love so pure, evil will come after you, like totally putting themselves at the center of the universe as if like everyone is so jealous of marriages and suburban homes that they'll try to take them down.
And therefore, when something is wrong in that life, it can only be because they are the victim.
Yes, so
never anything else.
So time for doorbell cams and arm your suburban house to the teeth in case someone
tries to ruin it. You can't let them take it from you.
Only God can protect you from the dangers of the internet.
Well, you know what else God is in control of? Because Charlie is the other audience surrogate and says, but I feel like I'm Gary Cole and I have to say that the world's changing too fast and I'm just going to get left behind, which is something that totally a normal person would have just said casually at that time period. And that's where Monica says, don't worry about that, Charlie. Progress in time, it's in God's hands. He's going to take care of that.
Just don't make an effort. Just let it occur.
I love the thought process. I'm worried about a thing.
Nah.
God.
Don't give no second thoughts to self or life improvement. God.
Say I'm worried about the thing.
I'm worried.
Don't worry about it.
Okay,
That's
well,
what
now
happens.
I believe you.
Basically, yeah.
So embrace this new world without fear. But remember, there is good and evil competing for your mind. So when you use the internet, guys, you just got to ask God to sit there and use the internet with you.
I'd like to say real quick, we actually have like a pretty good analog to Gary Cole. We're probably around the age he is in this episode.
Sure.
And we're dealing with, you know, the AI revolution. And I never once have been like, I'm going to throw myself off the roof of a building because I'm so confused by its mere existence.
You're no Kate.
Not yet.
You haven't mentioned the Eiffel Tower that much that I've ever...
He brings it up once or twice a week, but that's it.
I'll work on it.
So anyway, this world...
How about that Eiffel Tower?
It's pretty tall, right?
Monica says this world has great potential, but we need good people like you, like the Radcliffe family, or we're doomed. We're just completely... Without good people, this world's going to go really badly. The family hugs. Kate sniffles. She's crying a little bit because I think Monica has convinced her that she was wrong about the internet and it could be good as long as their family is in control of it and happy.
She also might have been crying because she just thought about how there's a future.
Time goes forward?
It's in God's hands. We have one last scene. The family has gotten their computer back. I guess that's the sort of happy ending for everyone. And Sarah shows Kate a big surprise. Her store has its very own website, which Sarah made because she's a computer guru. Kate is actually thrilled about this because she's a whole new person now. And her store is kind of her life, so she's okay with it having its own URL.
It's good Sarah waited. If Sarah had done this very nice gesture for her mother at the beginning, she probably would have been grounded.
Wouldn't have worked well. Another thing that falls into place that Brian's already alluded to is Charlie suggests, hey, since Andrew's an angel and he's not going to be sticking around, there's no one that's going to actually run that cyber cafe. So I was thinking, I'll just go ahead and take it over. It'll be my job.
To get out of the rat race, and I got fired, so I guess I'll now own a business.
Which you can just fall into.
It's an option I've got.
Our second business. They already have the antique store.
Good point.
That clearly doesn't make any money.
How could it? No one's in there but a fucking angel.
Meanwhile, Marshmallow's had her babies, and Millie named one of them after Monica. A dove flies by outside, the episode ends.
Yep.
That's it. Bet that bunny ate the baby.
What? I know which bunny is Tess, though.
What? Which one?
It's a grouchy one.
Why?
Keyword grouchy.
Mean.
Because she's grouchy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the suggestion from the other angels is that they could be named after some of the bunnies too or something. I don't know. So all's well that ends well, and everything was perfect in the end.
Internet.
So the internet's potentially bad, guys, and unless you're mindful, and then it can be good.
It can do good things.
Don't forget.
You can see the Eiffel Tower on the internet.
This show does not need to try to handle any philosophical material.
No.
I feel I don't need to say my overall thoughts on the show.
It's pretty apparent for all of us.
Yeah, but my God, do I want to share my overall thoughts on how this is like up there for just bonkers episodes we've watched and that I've had fun discussing.
I'm pretty thrilled this one came up. When I was selecting the episodes, there was another one I almost picked, which I have watched as well. And that's the first one I watched, and it has Stacy Keach in it.
Oh, yeah.
That old actor. And he's a rodeo cowboy who didn't know he had a grandson because he's estranged from his son. But then it turns out he's about to die. So the angel, or Monica, has to try and convince him to like each other. But then there's an evil angel. I guess there are fallen angels.
Oh, I would have liked one of those.
That was the most interesting aspect
Probably
of
have
it.
goatees.
And she tried to seduce the other guy to the dark side and say, don't make up with your dad. And then Monica's just like, oh, but I'll make up with your father. Oh, me lucky charms. I'm sorry, Ireland. I did that. I shouldn't have. But then Stacy Keach dies and the kid falls off a horse. It was stupid, but it was no this.
Sometimes there have been episode synopses I'll read and think we're in for something, and we kind of will be, or it'll fall flat. This episode it delivers on its promise. All the topics are topics it's ill-suited to handle, and it handles them as bluntly and just ignorantly as possible. It is perfect fodder for just staring at in confusion.
I think having concluded these two, we all do feel touched by an angel.
Oh, yeah.
But not like I feel touched by an angel. It's I feel touched by an angel.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it doesn't sit right.
No, it doesn't feel good.
Feels like kind of how Sarah felt when Dean 16 was all up her shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you guys are done with it, I'm done with it.
I'm done with it.
I think I had like 7,000 combined words of notes in the show, and
I believe
it took a lot longer than I thought it would. So it was a fun journey. Gary Cole was there. What's the other guy from the first episode? Bernard
Gordon Burnson.
Gomer.
And
Gorber Furbler.
He was there. That
God was all throughout.
Of course,
God's always there.
David Leisure. If you're listening to this, David Leisure, if you're alive and stuff, come and be on the podcast.
Provided you're a cool dude.
Where do we go from here? I don't know if we...
I'll tell you what, David Leisure, I'll tell you what else you need to do. Go on to Goodreads and follow me at Loud Guitar Brian, and we can be friends with books together. Spencer's on there too.
I'm on there too, Golden Hat Mick. And yeah, Brian and I are friends, and anyone who wants to be friends with us can be friends with us and see what we're reading.
And you can find me on Letterboxd and see the stuff I'm watching too. You can find, more importantly than all this, you can find Boo2 Inc., our podcast network at boo2inc.com, and you can find Boob2 Boys on YouTube and on Patreon.
Patreon.com/Boo2Inc. Bonus episodes.
You know, I will say, though, I did set Brian and I up pretty well for the future for when we do Christmas episodes, because I guarantee there are at least a dozen Touched by an Angel Christmas episodes that we could cover.
There have to be a lot of them, and we should. I'll go ahead and say that now. This may be another Bones type deal. We're in the home stretch. We have one more round for BoobTube Hot Potato before we resume our normal programming. And I'll just give a little recap of the things we've been doing. So
we don't need to recap the events of who selected
it's
what.
Well,
that's not necessary.
A long time ago, I made Van host episodes about Duck Dynasty. And in retaliation, he thought I should discuss Home Improvement to start this current round of Hot Potato.
I still think you got the better end of that deal.
I think he did too.
So how will I react to that?
I guess we're going to find out.
Well, I had some initial ideas, and I actually did hint at them, and then that they would be related to something else we had covered before, but I am breaking with that because, quite frankly, it was the dual covering the Flintstones and Jetsons back to back.
Oh, that took a lot out of us.
It did something to me, and I decided, no, that's what I decided about the torture I wanted to put us all through and an endless game of lobbing grenades at one another. But no, instead, I thought about it in a different way, which is I kind of wanted to move things more modern, and I wanted to watch something I might like that potentially we could like. So I was looking at recently a lot of award nominations started coming out, and one of the most nominated shows is one I picked. It is the one-season show Beef on Netflix, starring Steven Yeun and Ali Wong.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah.
I like Steven Yeun.
I do too.
I like Ali Wong.
So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. The show is essentially about two people who get in a car accident with each other, and that becomes their whole lives. It's kind of feuding.
Oh, so it's like that Changing Lanes movie?
Kind of, yeah.
With
Ben
Samuel
Affleck?
Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson,
Ben
yeah.
Affleck.
You like how you went to Sam Jackson as your A pick, and then I, for some reason, went to Ben Affleck?
Alphabetical.
Yeah, that's probably why.
So there's only really one way to do this is cover the first two. Season 1, Episode 1, The Birds Don't Sing, They Screech in Pain. A run-in with a hostile motorist sends Danny into a rage, and this is not...
Not the magician?
Right, the magician from Touched by an Angel, it's not him. And a tense chase across town. Amy's unexpected guest leaves a lasting impression, And then in season 1, episode 2, The Rapture of Being Alive. An enraged Amy finds new purpose as cracks in her seemingly perfect marriage begin to show. Danny seeks a fresh start for his failing family business as a magician. No, I made that part up.
This will be interesting.
Yeah, no idea what the show is even like, really.
It's been a long time since we've done a show that might not be atrocious.
Is this like really recent release?
2023.
Okay, so it's now. Okay, just curious. I haven't heard of it, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'd only heard like offhand speak of beef is good. Like that's all I know.
Basically all I know also.
We haven't done like contemporary Netflix since like Squid Game, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so. And by the way, I will definitely be asking your meat hierarchy. We haven't done this in a while, Brian, when we cover these episodes, because beef, it's not my number one. Most people in the U.S., it seems like beef is the number one meat, not me.
Well, I won't spoil it now then, just as beef might spoil if you leave it out too long.
Sounds like a topic we'll have to get to later.
Spencer, what's your least favorite meat?
So pressing. Least favorite?
Mm-hmm. What meat won't you touch?
I like all meat.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say I really like a lot of meat.
What about those like pickled things with olives in it? You know, it's like bologna with olives pickled throughout, or cheese in it.
I guess the most boring, and I like it, but I like just ham is the meat that I would be least excited, like a chunk of ham.
Sure. Okay.
I like pork, but if it's just like a slice of ham, I would eat it, but it's not my favorite. So that's probably my best answer. I tried to give that real thought and consideration. Did my best.
Good job.
Thank you.
I think for me, it's man, the most dangerous game.
What about Soylent Green?
Well, I was fine with it until I knew it was man, the most dangerous game.
It's people.
What is?
Soylent Green.
No, it isn't. How dare you ruin Soylent Green?
I think
for
it's
me.
Charlton Heston himself.
Oh, he's ground up in there. Gross.
Time I tell you I'll walk with you. Believe me, I'll walk with you.